A couple of weeks ago, I was on a review panel of another cooperative institute that was being done, and they talked about some of their education that was part of their mission. And the review panel came out with the criticism, and not for me, I didn't bring this up, the other three panelists did, that they lacked an education office. And if they had one, they could probably better coordinate their activities. And so, having been there, I thought, you know what? We need an education and an outreach office. So I went to Hank and said, Hank, we've been talking about this, we need to make it happen, and now we've made it happen. So my announcement for today is we have a CIMSS Education and Outreach Office. And our first leader of that organization is going to be Margaret Mooney. And so she's going to come and talk a bit about the type of activities that she specifically works on. Whoops, where'd it go? I got to talk some more. So yeah, that's what you're going to do, right? The problem here is that if I double click on a PPT, for some reason it jumps into Adobe things and it translates the thing, and now I got to wait until it finishes doing it before I have to open it with something else. There we go. So there it is, but I'm not going to do that. I got to go back and do it again. Right?
Right.
All right.
Great.
So,
thank you. Thank you very much, Steve, and thanks for the opportunity to present. I thought I would start with, I think I'm going to take a chronological approach. So I'm going to start with the station weather plot and the way that I first started to look at satellite images when I started to work at the National Weather Service office. I moved here in 1985, and this is how I determine cloud cover. That's mostly cloudy, for those of you who wonder. You can imagine how wonderful it is to work now at the satellite capital of the world. So chronological overview, let's start with the SIMSS Student Workshop. Yep. It's been around since 1991. I think it's one of the oldest student workshops in the country, which is great. And I'm told it was the brainchild of Bill Smith and Tom Actor. They wanted to attract the best and the brightest to these careers. Originally, teachers and students took the workshop together. In 2002, we started to do separate teacher workshops. Originally, we got grants to support this workshop, but that was the Wisconsin Space Grants Consortium. And after about 10 years, they got tired of funding it, so we started to charge tuition, just like a summer camp. It's a science camp now. We charge tuition. The tuition doesn't pay for the camp by any means, but that's how we've made this program sustainable. And also, as I haven't read, it's a significant pipeline to STEM careers. We're right now trying to gather information on a survey about where those people are now. You know some of them, but anywhere from social workers to the forestry to graduate school. We think that the SIMSS Student Workshop is really important. It's never going to be a money raiser for us. You know, there's so many volunteers who put on this. I can see so many of you here. We're so lucky to have a NOAA group here and to have Gary Wade working on this with us, especially. He does a huge role in the SIMSS Student Workshop. But it's going to always pay off hugely for us. Huge tradition, and I hope it keeps going forever. I really think this is the cornerstone of the SIMSS outreach group. As I mentioned, in 2002 we started to do teacher workshops separately, and typically they're based on a product, an educational product. Tom Actor also got, through the Space Grants Consortium, some funding to produce an online course called Satellite Meteorology for grades 7 through 12. So this is our first curriculum that's online, available online, and it's for students. So he got this funding. We had to create this course. But how easy was that here? There's so many resources here. The Applets, Tom Whitaker, Steve Ackerman, Tommy Jasmine create the most incredible tools. Of course, we have all the satellite imagery in the world we want. Visit View, another tool, the satellite blog, the cyclone, tropical cyclones site. And I don't know if any of you have ever seen this, but Rick Kors developed this little animation from 360 days worth of infrared images for another resource that we developed a couple of years later. And this is the grant we wrote to do that. So now we wanted to develop materials for teachers. So satellite meteorology for grades 7 through 12 is for students. This is for teachers, and it involves a collaboration, as you can see. And we're kind of we're spreading out. We're getting looking a little bit further than remote sensing, oceanography, geology, and climate change. So here's our workshop in July 2007. There's the course we developed. And you may remember also in 2007 that the IPCC came out with their latest report. There's a new one coming out soon. That said climate change, that warming is unequivocal, and that very likely due to greenhouse gases. So what we found at this workshop and what we were learning at that time is there was a high interest in learning about climate change. So because of that online course for teachers, the UW actually approached us and said, is there another online course that you might want to do? They were trying to attract non-traditional, non-UW students, non-traditional audiences. And many of us wanted to do something with the IPCC report. I don't know if you've read the Summary for Policymakers. It's 18 pages long. It's fabulous information, but it's actually hard for a lot of people to understand. So one afternoon, we spent an afternoon with people from CCR, CIMSS, SCC, AOS, geology, and we mapped out what a typical high school science teacher would need to know to understand the IPCC Summer for Policymakers, and we developed this online course. So the UW funded us to do that. They also funded us to engage teachers to take the course and provide feedback. And so there's the course, you can check it out. Also at that same time, we put a small grant into NSF to figure out what non-science teachers wanted to learn about climate change. And we did a workshop here in Madison. We did a workshop also in Silver Springs, Maryland. And so NSF funded this, but we also kind of partnered with NOAA to do it at the NOAA Science Center, which is something I think that works really well in general, but works really well for outreach, is to leverage as much as you can. So even though this is a short project, I think we learned a lot. And then I don't know if any of you went to do the math tour, but the person that introduced Bill McKibben was a teacher who went to our workshop. So back to that online course, what we did is we used that course as a central point for proposal to NASA. So it's NASA Climate Change Education, and we called that project Climate Literacy Ambassadors. And it was originally a 3-year project. We've extended it a little bit, but the idea was that we would teach climate change to middle and high school science teachers, back to science teachers again, and they would become ambassadors of climate literacy in their schools and communities. It involved a 1-day workshop and then that online course I showed you. One of the things we did with that project to leverage that was to say that some of our workshops would be at ESIP. So ESIP stands for Earth Science Information Partners. We've been involved with ESIP now for about 4 or 5 years as a result of a proposal. I think it was Steve and Tom Whitaker and Tommy Jasmine who got funded to create a course called Satellite Operations and Science Education. Yeah, SOCI. And it involved a membership in ESIP. And it's really a great group. It's a national group. They mainly meet online or on the phone. But twice a year they meet in person, once in Washington, D.C., and the other time they move around. So every summer it's a new place. And I had presented at the Satellite Educators Conference one year, and it's always in the same place. And I was just talking to Nina Jackson from NOAA NESDIS and said, well, maybe we could have these workshops at ESIP and always have a new audience. And she really liked that idea and said, please submit a proposal. And we've been running the ESIP teacher workshops ever since then also. I have a little red circle there because, so this is just a screenshot from our Climate Literacy Ambassadors page and all the workshops we did. And then there's some resources that we developed with that project. And I want to show you one of them that we're quite proud of. It's a water cycle diagram that includes human processes involved in the natural diagram. So a lot of you guys know Maciek. He did this for us. We funded this with the Climate Literacy Ambassadors Project. But we worked with a hydrologist from NOAA, Noah Gluro in Michigan, and UW-Madison hydrologist. And you could, you can see, this is a Great Lakes looking water cycle diagram also. You could kind of imagine Lake Michigan there and Milwaukee taking water from Lake Michigan and dispensing it also. But we got this diagram in this report that came out last year from the Wiki group, the Wisconsin Initiative on Climate Change Impacts. And anyone can download this and use this. So other stuff that we're doing with the CIMSS EPO is weather and climate connections for 3D spherical displays. This has been going on for almost over a decade, I think. Originally, it was, I know Bill Smith was one of the PIs, but it involved a partnership with us, Hampton University, and the National Maritime Center, which I think it maybe Nautica's now, but that's a NOAA environmental literacy grant. And so we had this, we were producing stuff for those big SOS Science on Spherical Globes. It was mainly Rick Course. And he and I kept saying, we want one of those here, you know. So then we put in that little Baldwin grant and we got our little globe that we have on the first floor. That's been very fabulous for having groups come to our building. That was a partnership with Madison's Children's Museum, Milwaukee Public Museum, EAA, and MG&E actually participated in that too. That was a Baldwin grant. And then more recently, there's a project with that third bullet down, which enabled us to hire Patrick Rowley, and he does this blog that you see there called Earth Now, and it's to help museums put data sets on, near real-time data sets on the science on a sphere. And if you haven't seen them, you might want to check on that sometime. Really nice, beautiful animations and graphics with audio talking about recent events. So there's a monthly climate digest that uses the NCDC and CPC data, and there's also there's a 2012 hurricane season. But anyways, that's another collaboration we have. And then that little picture we have of a student looking at our globe in the bottom left. MG&E actually gave us those solar panels on our roof. So my point is it involves a lot of partnerships and a lot of leveraging. And then the Leopold Nature Center now has a Science on a Sphere, and we're working with them also. We have a Facebook page. We have over 900 fans, over 20 countries, and frequently I just go to these sites and throw up a satellite image. So that Climate Literacy Ambassadors project that I was talking about, we met all our milestones except for one, and that was the teachers would engage their students in some sort of research project or data collection project. And we weren't able to get that milestone met, so what we did is we worked with NASA to get it redefined, and we came up with the CIMSS iPad library. So as far as I know, this is the first iPad lending library in the country. And because, like I said, we have so many resources here, including our own library. Our library manages our iPad library for us. We distributed 26 units at the ESIP Teacher Workshop this last year. And we were also super lucky because the SatCam app just came out. And I don't know if you've used that yet, but it's so cool. So many things, so many apps don't really let somebody do something. So the SatCam app can let a student collect data. It's automatically calibrated because of GPS and because of the camera, so the data's accurate. The teachers loved it. That picture is in the bottom left. We all went outside and took an observation with SatCam, and coincidentally, the SUNY NPP was going over. That was pretty cool too. And there's our group with their iPads this last summer. I presented this at AGU in an education talk, and somebody raised their hand and said, "Are there any plans to use this for ground truthing for Lotus?" And you know, I had to laugh. I said, "Yes, that's exactly why they did SatCam." So a great asset to be able to promote. So wrapping up here are the projects that we have. These are funded projects. So that's what this slide is. One is that SOS grant I told you about. There's also the GOES-R Education Proving Ground. So we talk about GOES-R Proving Ground for science projects. What this is just working with 6 teachers around the country, and they will be developing lesson plans that then they can use, you know, that'll be launch ready when GOES-R goes up. I showed you that satellite meteorology screenshot of the original course. We also revamped the whole entire course for grades 7 through 12 and added a new module that has a lot on GOSAR with a lot of help from Tim Schmidt. We already have an invited proposal in for the East of Teach workshop for next summer. The climate literacy ambassadors, like I said, we extended that just a little bit. We're working on the CIMSS iPad library with that. We are working on an online course for UW students based on a collaboration with MATC. That's going to be this spring semester coming up this year. And we also were invited to submit a proposal to have this, the next Satellite Educators Conference at CIMSS. And I think we should use this venue, actually. So these are two pending projects, two proposals that are in. I think I'm very excited about the first one. It involves working with storm spotters. And the second one, we only have a letter of intent in right now, but just being the group that got to submit that proposal at the UW-Madison is a huge accomplishment. And just knowing the landscape of who is submitting everything, I think we're definitely in the top 3, but it'd be pretty cool if we get to do this, host this group, this office. It's kind of a management thing, but what we're thinking is that we'll engage students to help us do that. So it'll be managing some other funded projects for 6 years, but also engaging students in that process. But of course, there's so much more going on at CIMSS than just this. There's always some funded graduate students every year, a lot of training for professional meteorologists, weather service collaborations. I mean, you can read all these bullets, but there is a lot going on here, and I'm honored to be trying to stay on top of it. And then finally, I'd like to end with, how can we help you? Whatever, I'm happy to talk to you whenever. If you're writing a proposal, the very fact that we have such a strong education office going on here is going to help your proposal. If you're trying to figure out what your outreach niche is, maybe you'll present at the CIMSS Student Workshop. Maybe you'd like to present at another venue around campus. There's a lot going on, a lot of opportunities. I frequently get emails, someone saying, do you know someone who can do this or that? Or maybe, I don't know, just please come talk to me. I'm going to be at the party all day tomorrow. And at any time, we'd love to help your project. So thank you, that's it.
So questions for Margaret. You can get the idea that through all the activities she's been involved with, she's pretty plugged in nationally and locally in terms of what's going on, and not just climate literacy, but weather education in general. Yeah, but
your macro, your national scale involvement is remarkable. It's still, on a personal level, you go to, my daughter's high school science thing, and I've got the science teacher saying, where can we get resources? How do you get that? How do you get that out locally as well? When the GOES user conference was in Madison, the TV weatherman said, I stayed for 2 days, and then it was all that satellite stuff, and I left. So it's surprising. Maybe I'm just missing it, but is there a way that you can get the local community engaged in all of these resources?
It's a TV weather forecaster. Can't help it. Well, there was a TV weather forecaster there, so that's one way. And there's news releases. And one thing about reaching teachers in Madison, it's actually really hard. They have so many opportunities. And you kind of need to go in through MMSD. And already at the university, please let me help, because I do know a few things, like Kevin Nimi it's competitive even out of university who interacts with MMSD, Madison Metropolitan School District. And the other thing is that right now, I know you guys know this, but they're burdened with other issues. When we submitted that Climate Literacy Ambassadors proposal, we had the head of MMSD, I forgot his exact title, but of science, whatever, in between the time when we submitted it and when it got funded, he lost his job. I mean, they're just downsizing left and right. So it is a huge challenge. You know, I'm not sure about your school. GOES-R is it's hard for people, teachers, I think, to think about the next satellite yet until they understand this satellite, what this one's doing. So, but I'm more than happy to, you can send any teachers my way. The nice thing about me kind of being a blue-collar meteorologist with the Weather Service, I think I understand the gap between some of the research you guys are all doing and how people can use that information.
Thanks, Margaret. Was there another question? I didn't. Yeah, go ahead, June. And you can answer it there while we get Liam set up here.
Yes, I wonder, like, climate education is so important. Actually, many people don't know that fundamental program. I'm not sure if there is a web page provided like tutor materials, either like video or like blueprint question asked such as like why we have climate change program and how we figure out measure like greenhouse gas that provide climate policy and how we project the climate and how the satellite can help understand the climate. Those kind of questions, I think, and what's the argument currently scientists have on. Those kind of questions, I think, is very important actually.
Yeah, I do too. That's why so many of the projects that we're working on are related to that. So, but did I miss your question? You said that it's important.
Yeah, I mean, like there is like educational like blueprint asked question like you can provide the answers to. And that in the web page like actually it's what very nice you provide those like answers to the fundamental questions related to climate change.
Yeah. Thank you. And it'll be a big deal, I think, when the next AARP report. I mean,